You know where you are!
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Alex Lifeson. How are you, sir?
I'm great. My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Have you ever done an interview with a baby before?
No, but there's always a first time.
Yeah, well, I hopefully he cooperates, and I appreciate you taking the time today. So, Envy of None. I'm excited to talk to you about this project. You know, second album, and excuse me if my New York accent bastardizes the name Stygian Wavz, right? The name of the
Yes,
album?
Stygian.
Stygian Wavz. You know, I was
Yeah.
practicing it, so I have to learn how to speak, and so does he. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best person to learn from. So if you can tell me the origin story of Envy of None.
Sure. We After Rush finished touring in 2015, Andy Curran, I've been friends with for 40 years, he called me one day and said, do you mind playing on a song that I'm working on called Liar? It's on the first record. And I said, sure, I'll put some guitars on for you. And I just did scratch guitars. In the meantime, he was invited to be a judge for a talent contest, and Maya Wynn was one of the contestants. And the advice he gave to her was to get out and work with other people and learn your abilities and skills. And she said, well, I Googled you and I know your past, so why don't we work together on a song? So he kind of laughed and said, "Oh, okay, I'll send you something. We'll see how it goes." He sent that song Liar, and she sent it back with her vocals. Andy played it for me, and I told him immediately, erase everything that I did. I'm going to do final guitars on it. I'm going to upgrade everything. We have to work with this girl. She's amazing. She was 19 at the time. From there, we started working on a few songs together. David Steinberg, who played drums on that first record on a few tracks and is our lawyer, he suggested the name, and it comes from an essay written by Roman philosopher Ovid, where he speaks of a certain group being the envy of none. And he also makes reference to the Stygian waves, which are the turbulent waters at the gates of hell when the river Styx. So it all comes full circle with the second one, and then we just carried on from there as Envy of None.
Oh, I love that origin story because I was wondering specifically where the name came from. So you answered that within it. You know, it's interesting. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm gonna be 42 later this year. I don't know how that makes you feel. Yes, Harrison's gonna be 2 next month. I have my 28-year-old brother helping me in the background, so in case if he gets crazy. Your lead singer's 28.
Yes.
Right? So there are times when I'm 40, I'm 41 now again, talking to my brother 28, and there are certain references we don't get, but for the most part we do get each other. Does that happen? How does that dynamic affect the band? Like, does she introduce new things? Do you introduce more of the old style, the classic style? How does that dynamic work for you guys and gals?
It is very organic right from the beginning. Maya, first of all, is way beyond her years. These last couple of years during the the, the making of Stygian Waves, she's seen enormous personal growth. As an artist, as a singer, as a lyricist, as a composer, like, it's just incredible. The amount of talent she has, and I think she borders on the genius at times, and I don't say that lightly. So when we're working together, it's just the ideas are flowing. We don't push one thing or another. There are hints of the 90s, there are hints of very current stuff, there are hints of the 60s, there are hints of classical music. I mean, it's all over the place, and it just seems to organically happen. But let me just say about Maya at 28, when I started working with her individually with guitars and vocals, we started dancing together. I would do guitars, send it to her. She'd do scratch vocals based on those guitars. Then I would update the guitars to her vocals and back and forth in a pyramid until we reached the apex. And we dance with each other, and it's a beautiful dance. And we have so much confidence, respect, and trust in what we're doing together. I'm blessed to have a muse like her at this stage in my life working. It's just given me a rebirth. I play more guitar now probably than I've ever played. I'm working on a whole handful of other projects, some small and some quite large. So it's just I have a new life, and a lot of it has to do with this, and a lot of it has to do with her.
That's so cool because you just never know when inspiration is going to come in your life, and for you to, come from this obviously massively successful band Rush, and there's so many options that you can do, and you never know what what itch is going to satisfy you, and you can seem so satisfied with this project. So, before I can say anything else, just congratulations on
Thank
it,
you.
just on it. I want to. I don't know if you could tell, other than Behind the Sleeping Baby, because I want to make sure. I know we don't have a lot of time, and you've been working hard on these tours all morning, so I don't want to keep you forever. And if you notice the name of the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. So I have a Guns N' Roses theme.
Uh-huh.
So I actually asked a listener of mine reached out and found out that you were actually a lot of my listeners want to ask you questions, but there's one in particular. His name is Richard Fortus from Guns N' Roses. He actually, believe it or not, he actually listens to the podcast and is a fan. So I said you were coming on, and he didn't have a question, but he has a story. He doesn't expect you to remember it, but I thought it was really, really cool. He said as a kid, I was a big fan of Rush. 2112 was huge for me. I saw them a bunch of times, and somewhere I have a photo of Alex and I both playing double neck acoustics together. I think I was about 12. My father worked for a company that made Alvarez acoustic guitars, and they made one for Alex. I don't think he remembers. I'm going to try to find that picture. I don't know if that rings a bell at all.
Yeah, it does.
It,
Yeah,
it,
that was a while ago. I got us. I think probably was that in the 80s, late 70s rather, or early 80s. Yeah,
Probably. I
that
mean,
Alvarez
Richard's,
guitar. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes.
So,
Yeah, and I remember his mom. Definitely.
so isn't that cool that, you met a 12-year-old Richard Fortus who has had a successful career and inspired by you and, with Guns N' Roses. I mean, must hear it all the time. What does that mean for you that you inspire, maybe not just, I mean, not just musicians. I don't want to put any musician down, but just these bands, these massive bands that credit you for inspiring them to pick up a guitar and to play, and they grow up to be successful. When they met you, you were already successful. They were a kid. Now they're successful. What does that mean to you?
First of all, it's a beautiful compliment, but it's paying it forward. It's giving somebody a seed of inspiration or whatever it is to fire them up to do whatever they want to do. Like Rush was always about moving forward and challenging yourself and not being in the mainstream. We like to think that we always walked on the shore along the mainstream. So we were aware of what was happening, but we were on our own path. And I think when people talk about it's like, and Dave Grohl is another one, and all of these amazing musicians that cite Russia as an inspiration or an influence. It's that it's not so much about our music. It's really about our intention and how we approached um, the way we conducted ourselves. Once we got our independence with 2112 from our record company, they were never allowed in the studio, and
Hmm.
we didn't care whatever they said, and they learned to not try to do something like that. So we were very independent, and we just believed in driving ourselves and forcing ourselves into creating the best work we could do, whatever that was. And I think that's the kind of mark that we left on great musicians like Richard and David and all the others that cite us.
That's awesome. Alex, thank you so much for your time. A quick yes or no question before I let you go. More Trailer Park Boys in your future?
Well, I was there last summer, I think. Um, working on was it season 12 or season 13? So they took these characters. I don't know if you know Big Chunk. They did an animated series one year. So
Okay.
they brought these characters to life. So I was there, did a few episodes. So hopefully that's coming out soon.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time. You're a legend. I hope we get to do this again, and maybe next time he'll have more words for you and actually
Yeah,
ask a question.
for sure. I'd love to. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Brandon.
Thank you so much, Alex. Have a great day.
Okay. See ya.
Bye. I can't wait to show Baby Brownstone, Harrison Rex, when he's older, that he fell asleep on the guitarist from Rush. He fell asleep on if you I don't know if you're watching on Zoom, you could see that if watching on YouTube, but if you're listening and wondering why it was just quiet because he just promptly fell asleep on me. Um, not always. Like, yeah, sometimes I want to incorporate him into the podcast. It's fun, and other times I have no choice because it's either have him crying or sit with me and just hope we get to the interview. I do these from home, and I scheduled them, try to around his schedule, his ever-changing schedule. But we did it, and it was a lot of fun. And also, I recorded the second half of this full episode, what I'm recording with you right now with Harrison on me. But this is actually take three. This is take three because Guns N' Roses, they kept being breaking news. We're actually, let's get to it. Your favorite segment and mine, Shotgun News. Let's play the soundbite.
News.
Shotgun News. So yes, if you've been following on social media, you know all about it, and I'll give you my opinion now. So without warning, did not expect it. Frank Ferrer, drummer for Guns N' Roses for 19 years, has left the band. Guns N' Roses, they put out a statement just a couple days ago as I am recording this. So what am I? Today's date, the 21st. They put this out on the 19th. Um, the band thanks Frank for his friendship, creativity, and sturdy presence over the past 19 years, and wish him success in the next chapter of his musical journey. Frank first joined GNR during a show in June 2006, helped anchor the rhythm section during our subsequent tours, including the recent outings featuring the reunited trio of Axl Rose, Slash, and Duff McKagan. His last show with the band took place November 5th, 2023 in Mexico, and that was the last show for Guns N' Roses, period, because they didn't tour last year. So that came without warning, and it's reported as an amicable, if I could say that word, split. That's how it was presented by their social media. It was an amicable split. So I'm like, okay, interesting. And of course, the immediate question is, who's going to play the drums now? Okay. And before we get to, spoiler alert, it's not real because again, if you're listening to this podcast, you know it's Isaac Carpenter. But before we get to that, of course, all the speculation about Matt Sorum, about Steven Adler, even Brain. I'm surprised there wasn't any love for why not bring back Rob Gardner? He's the original drummer. Or how about Don Henley? He's no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, a few things within that because I'm a fan of Frank, so I have mixed feelings about him leaving. Currently I'm wearing my Knicks shirt. I'm all New Yorked out. I didn't really plan this, wearing my Yankees hat and my Knicks shirt, but Frank is from New York, and I went to one of the shows I went to for GNR was Madison Square Garden in October 2017. I'm currently looking at. I have a lithograph on the opposite wall of where I am right now of Duff McKagan in the style of Gangs of New York. And that night, Frank, when they're introducing him, Mr. Frank Ferrer on the drums, with Axl's introduction, he's wearing a Knicks Larry Johnson jersey. And if you're familiar, doing the LJ arm gesture, signal, whatever, if you're familiar with that, that was his, when he hit a big shot, I believe it was over the Pacers, whatever. But so, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm a Knicks fan. I remember this shot. That's my man. And even when he first joined Guns N' Roses, he was doing local gigs around the city. I wish I was able to attend any of them, but I forget the excuses I have now. I'm sure something to do with work. So I'm like, all right, let's see who's next. I mean, I hope everything is okay with him. I'll be honest, I don't believe it's any sort of health issue or anything like that. I just think it was just a parting of the ways after 19 years. So there's a lot of thoughts that come with it. There's a lot of speculation, and we're going to go through each step. So with Frank, he's gone. Speculation. Is it Matt? Do you want Matt? Do you want Brain? Do you want Steven Adler? Not for a second did I think it would be any of them. And I hate to say this, I feel bad for the fans that did believe that or were really trying to clamor for that to happen. Kind of like a Mean Girls, where stop trying to make Fetch happen. Stop trying to make Adler happen. Stop trying to make Storm happen. And I don't mean it as far as I don't want it to happen. I've never seen those versions of Guns N' Roses. I never saw Axl and Slash together prior to this reunion, so this was amazing. While I would, uh, I love New Guns, that version. I love Velvet Revolver. There's always was a part of me like I got to see Axl and Slash on stage together again, and it finally happened. With Adler, it has happened a couple off chances, a couple of guest appearances, and Izzy, no, it hasn't. It happened with the New Guns. If you want to call it that, it was never officially called that. NU Guns, if you want to be hip and cool with the way how you spell it. But I think that tweet, the now deleted tweet, it lives in infamy. That when Izzy said that they didn't want to split the loot equally, and that's Izzy. I went from there's so many parts because of course Izzy come back. People are thinking like it's gonna be the new reunion. This is the first domino to fall. People are thinking Richard Fortus is next. It's not. No. Richard is, as far as I know, not leaving. He's currently in rehearsals with them. So Izzy's not going to happen. Adler's not going to happen, and Storm's not going to happen. So what I can tell you, because I always try to preface everything with I'm not an expert. I am not an insider. I am not in the know. I get told things by different people, but I don't really know anything firsthand. I don't want you to take any word that I have as gospel, really. You can make your own educated guess about it. But I'm thinking with Steven, or I'll start with Matt. If you were able to read the early drafts of his book that were unfortunately or fortunately, depending upon your perspective, were passed around, weren't very kind to Slash and Duff. And I think that there's a major a bridge burned there, maybe on both sides. I think, Matt maybe not wanting to work with them or vice versa, which is very sad. And you could think like, well, if Axl and Slash can patch it up, anybody can. Well, that's true. Also, it's just a different dynamic. Axl and Slash, they're peanut butter and jelly of GNR. It's a different total dynamic with the drummer. So it's not gonna happen because of that. I believe. Uh, Now with Steven, look, there is he did say stuff after when he did those guest appearances that I didn't think him do him any favors. Is that when he was upset only playing a couple songs or flying, I think it was like to Argentina just to play one song. I don't think you're going to see Steven again because of that. I don't know for a fact, but I just don't think. I don't know if he wants it. I don't know if he would want it unless it was a full time gig. And I just don't see that happening for this reason. So this is a tie-in, I should use a different T word. It's a tease. So it's a tease because I didn't mention this at the beginning of this episode because we kind of just jumped right in with Alex Lifeson. This is episode 498. We are approaching 500, and I have something special planned for 500. So 499, before we even get there, knock on wood, because it's not recorded yet. It's not taped. You never know. It should be Tracy Guns. Finally getting Tracy Guns on the podcast to talk about new LA Guns and whatever else. We will figure that out. But episode 500, already recorded, 2 hours with Alan Niven. 2 hours with Guns N' Roses. I don't want to say first manager because that belongs to Vicky Hamilton, but the first manager with Geffen, the Appetite for Destruction manager, and it's kind of like if you ever wanted to see a Doug Allen episode, this is as close as you're going to get because we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about his book. So it's going to be interesting. So the Stephen Adler point, and you'll hear, of course, Alan talk about that in episode 500, which I will put out in a couple weeks. And you may get mad at me because I kind of stopped his answer because I didn't want to know more information because it just sounded like something I could be sued for. Uh, apparently, something happened back in the day between Axel and Steven that Alan Niven alleges that Steven's even lucky that he had those guest appearances, that Axel doesn't like choke him or something like that. And I kind of got the complete opposite vibe from Doug as far as Axel and Steven's relationship. So we talk about that. So that could be part of it. Of course, there's part of does GNR want to do a 3 hour show still? Can Steven still do that? Was he even contacted or considered to incorporate? I don't think so. I really don't think so. This band is completely moving forward now that they have the big three, and whatever happens with the classic five happens or doesn't happen. And in my opinion, it's not going to happen, which is sad because it's the 40th anniversary. Let's just do guest appearances, worst case scenario, a conversation for another time. So it's not Matt. It's not Steven. I never thought it was going to be Brain, mainly because, if he really wanted his gig back, because he told us on our show that he left just to take care of his daughter when he became a dad. And Frank was only supposed to fill in for a couple weeks. And it's 19 years later. So obviously, if Brain wanted that job back at any point in time, I'm sure that could have happened. Also, Brain only temporarily filled in recently with Primus when they were looking for a new drummer. And he could have stayed with Primus. So I don't think he wants to be a touring musician like that. That would be my guess there. So no, I'm sorry because all the fans asking for that, and I think you need to take into consideration, and the majority of fans were wonderful towards Frank, of just how he feels. And I don't mean to sound lame saying that, but Frank has been heavily criticized over the last 19 years, not because of who he is. He is an extremely nice guy, extremely approachable. He was awesome on this podcast. He offered to come back on the podcast with Brain, but whatever bureaucratic behind the scenes stuff prevented that from happening. Amazing guy, but drummers, musicians say that he never fit Guns N' Roses, that something with his sound. Now, as a non musician, as somebody who is completely tone deaf, I don't hear it. I'm a cliche fan that just I like the lead singer and the lead guitarist. That's really it, to be honest with you. Unless it's a bassist like within GNR that stands out, like Duff with the bass lines that stand out, or Flea or something like that. But otherwise, the bass sound I can't tell. I don't have that ear. It's all about the voice and the guitar for me, and that's since I was a kid. That's why I gravitated towards GNR most of all. So I don't hear that. So it's you cannot say anything. It's kind of like with the way your mother used to say. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. These people are on social media. They see your comments. You don't need to say good riddance. Like, does it make you feel cool? Say good riddance at this guy? I don't know. Maybe he's out of a job, like really out of a job now. I'm sure. I like to think he's well off because of he's been with GNR, but never celebrate somebody losing a job. And while it was again, it was shown as amicable, uh, that it was a mutual agreement. It's I don't think that's the case now, and I say that just reading between the lines with no knowledge, inside knowledge of just seeing what you see, and based upon what I'm going to say, many of you agree with me. So this is a so they announced the departure of Frank on the 19th, and then they announced who the new Guns N' Roses drummer, and we're going to get to because I want to get past the Frank part first. The new drummer, drum roll, please. I guess pun intended. You already know, Isaac Carpenter. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's played with Duff before, with Loaded and AWOL Nation. So we're going to get to that in a moment. but I want to wrap up the Frank Park because they announced that on the 20th and then the 21st. So just a few hours before I'm recording this, Frank on Instagram released a statement. So this kind of it helps shape the narrative and why I had to record this part 3 times because the narrative for me kept changing. So let's bring up Frank's Instagram post. The outpouring of love I felt from the incredible fans of Guns N' Roses and my peers over the past 24 hours has been tremendous. I will have expend immense gratitude and love always for Axl and the band, while at the same time disappointment that this chapter came to an end. It has been an incredible 19 years. Guns N' Roses has given me life-changing memories and experiences. A huge thanks to management, the crew, and fans for giving me memories that I will cherish for my lifetime. I hope I will see you all again soon. Frank Ferrer. Wow. So I don't think it really takes some sort of investigative journalist to really see that this was not a mutual parting of ways. And he says disappointment, unless he had to leave for other reasons, like, okay, I'm disappointed because I'm not feeling well, that my divorce has really impacted me. I don't see those as being the case because I think that would have been stated. So this sounds like he was fired. He was asked to politely to leave. Again, this is my speculation. I do not know firsthand because you don't use that word disappointment lightly. And he thanks another. I see other people kind of highlighting how he thanks Axl and the band. Nobody else by name. Well, Axl was the first one to hire him. He came on before Slash and Duff, which sounds funny because Slash and Duff were obviously before him. But so I don't know if that's just if that's a particular, if that's a specific phrase he wanted to use, really just thank Axl and the band and just make it easy, or was this a slight to Slash and Duff? Maybe Duff. And I say that because if you're able to read Matt Sorum's book, I think it was in Matt Sorum's one of his early drafts, that he tells a story, about why he was not involved in the reunion. And he wanted, they wanted Frank out. That allegedly Duff wanted Frank out, that they couldn't sync musically. Nothing as far as a personality clash. It was something musically that they just couldn't click with. And what leads me to believe now that maybe that story has even more merit is because Isaac Carpenter is a Duff guy. Again, so he was in Duff McKagan's Loaded for just a couple years, I believe like 2009, 2011. And he's played with AWOL Nation, a good band for like the last 10 years. And you may know that Duff has actually done guest dates with AWOL Nation. So he has a history with Isaac Carpenter. So I want to bring this up, and I want to give credit to SPF magazine Slash's fan page magazine on Facebook for kind of putting this all together for us. And I should give you a heads up. It's in Spanish, but thanks to social media, everything gets translated. So like, who is Isaac Carpenter? So that's obviously I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean, as soon as people said AWOL Nation and Loaded, I'm like, oh, okay. But now I'm learning. So he was in a band called Louder Milk and Gosling. But initially, this is what's cool. They started as a Guns N' Roses tribute band with the name 22s and Tulips. So this dude was in a Guns N' Roses tribute band back in the day. I like it. The X's, again, Loaded. Yes, he played with Adam Lambert. Hey, Adam Lambert, regardless of how you feel, the guy's got talent. He could sing. You have to have chops to be in that band. So he played with Adam Lambert, and he's been with AWOL Nation for 10 years, 3 albums. So this guy has been around and then some. And looking at kind of what I said before about how some people feel about Frank's playing, the comments, people who have already YouTubed him from musicians, seem to be in favor of this pick. Playing like, wow, this guy can play, or they're excited about it. So this is a very interesting pick. So I will say this, that you do not inject new blood for a reason. So I'm intrigued in what's going to happen this year with Guns N' Roses. Because why now? Why 19 years in? Again, unless Frank couldn't do it for whatever reason, a commitment, to a family, an illness, something like that. You don't just stop that after 19 years. Something special has to be planned this year for their 40th anniversary for them to be like, for them maybe to Axel finally be like, okay, and this is a big move. Again, if this was true, all speculation, if Duff and or Slash actually convinced Axel to finally let Frank go and hire his guy, wow, that's a big deal. And it shows that maybe Axel is really, as much as we think he runs the entire ship, he listens. He listens. And that's how this thing is continuing to go with him, Slash, and Duff. So if we want to continue to go, you got to get this guy. It sucks for Frank. And again, this is all optics. You're reading between the lines. I see what you see on social media. It's just crazy how it's played out over a few days. I just kept thinking different things. Who knows? I hope I don't have to. I'm not going to record this a fourth time. I'm just going to do this on another podcast if the news changes again after I say this. So there you have it. So Isaac Carpenter, the new Guns N' Roses drummer, and I am expecting some interesting things because you do not do this 2 months prior to tour. This has to be. He has to be rehearsing with the band already. Has to be. You don't. You don't do this willy nilly. So it's gonna be. I will be paying attention. Again, I want all of you who are going to Guns N' Roses shows this year. I invite you to come on this podcast to do our fan reviews, our fan obsession, and tell me about Isaac Carpenter live. So there's a lot of things already to talk about Guns N' Roses going into 2025 with the 40th anniversary and now a new drummer. And I am expecting new music. I don't know what form that's going to come in, how much of it there's going to be, but I'm still a firm believer that we will get something this year. And I think getting a new drummer is a big, big indicator of that. So that being said, before I get out of here, because I'm having fun, I'm excitable if you can't tell, let's do another one of my favorite segments. Let's go to some emails and something I like to call Mr. Mailstone.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
So this first one comes from Jeremy from Manhattan. And no, I do not know him. Not everybody from New York City knows each other. So that is cool that Jeremy listens to the podcast. Baby Brownstone doesn't really like it. One day I'm gonna have him read the letters to me. Like, you're gonna write in letters. I'm gonna have that's how Harrison's really gonna learn how to read. Anyway, I digress. He starts off, yo, what's good, Brando? Very New Yorky. I like it. Love your podcast, and I hope that one day you get the opportunity to interview the usual suspects, Axel, Duff, Slash, and Izzy. I hope Steven too. I think your podcast is for sure worthy of it. Thank you. With that said, as I am a huge GNR fan myself, I would like to ask you some questions that I don't think anybody else has asked you before. Oh boy. Since nobody has asked you yet, I figured why not take this opportunity to ask you on here and give you my answers as well. Let's go. So he loves the GNR High Definition show released on DVD, the Ritz 1991 show. He has seen it more than once. However, he is personally a bit of a pet peeve with it at the beginning of the film, how it just shows the date of the show, and then it cuts to Slash, starting out pretty tied up. And he thinks it would have been more dope if they had included some shots of the crowd entering the venue, as well as the band arriving and getting ready backstage. They could have even shown the MTV news crew, since they were filming there as well, and then cut to the show starting. Do you have the same opinion about this yourself? Any pet peeves about this film? Well, Jeremy, to be honest with you, I've only seen the show once, so nothing really stands out as far as a pet peeve about it. The things I remember are Shannon Hoon's appearance. That really stands out to me, especially on You Ain't the First. And there, I think it was before You Could Be Mine, maybe, that Slash kind of, he turns towards the drum riser and he goes back to the microphone to say something, and he just goes, whoa, and he almost walks into it. Like, those things stick out in my mind. The pet peeve, though, it only would be that, why did it take so long for this to come out? Why aren't there more? And Jeremy says that. All of us, including myself, hope Axel releases more complete shows, just like he did with Rats 91. So if he wants to ask me if I could pick only 4 shows to be released right away, well, let's go to his shows first. He wants to pick The Cat House 1989, where they filmed the It's So Easy music video. Use Your Illusion show in Toronto, where in June 8th, 1991, where you could see parts of it in Live and Let Die, in the video for that. Tacoma Dome, July 16th, 1991. You can see some of it in the Dead Horse video, where Axl jumps off stage and is in the crowd. And Vegas, January 25th, 1992. And the audio for that is released on the box set, but not the film. So what shows would I pick? Well, you're a better Guns N' Roses fan than I, Jeremy, because I don't have any specific dates other than maybe like a show that I went to December. What was it? December 5th, 2002, when I saw them in Madison Square Garden. The show before the whole Chinese democracy thing was shut down. Love to see that. Get some close ups of a Buckethead passing out the toys and doing some nunchucks. But other than that, something from Skin and Bones, the acoustic stuff when they're on the couch. Maybe when they're getting delivered pizzas from topless women. I won't watch that around my son and wife, but that would be cool to see in HD. His last question is if I could choose a couple of Axl stage worn own clothes to own yourself, which ones would I pick? So I guess I would ask you, are you going to wear these, or am I going to put them on the wall, like on display? So he would pick Jeremy would pick the black jacket, the vest, where one sleeve is full and the other is not. The American flag jacket that he wore during the Civil War performances, and or the blue button-down shirt he wore during the MTV 1990 interview with Kurt Loder when they were sitting outside. I mean, the fact that you want a dress shirt shows you're a classy dude, Jeremy. So good for you for not just wanting the stage stuff, that you're wanting something nice. You want something that you can, go to Sunday dinner with. So what would I pick? If I could put it on the wall, I think a kilt would be cool. I don't know if I would wear that. It's kind of windy in New York right now. What else would I mean? The skeleton jacket, but that's in the Rock and Roll Hall. Not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame Cafe, the Rock Cafe in London. I was just there, the Hard Rock Cafe. Sorry, I'm like having daddy brain, and I'm watching baby Brownstone literally getting his diaper changed. This is wow. My brother's changing his diaper while I'm recording a podcast. You can't make this up. I will not show you ever that on the podcast. You have no reason to worry. I will keep everything G-rated as far as that's concerned. So, to change gears, I don't know. It's back to the worn clothes. Maybe the bucket cap from I don't know. It's so stupid from the 2002 VMAs that he threw at the beginning. I don't know. I thought he looked cool in that bucket cap. And he threw it away. It's probably gone. So that's from Jeremy from Manhattan. So thank you for that. And one more email before we get out of here. This is complete end of the planet, opposite end of the world. Australia. And the headline reads, "Good day from Australia, Brando. Greetings from hard rock band Crystallines." I'm sorry. This is from Callum. Why am I doing that in a terrible, what just sounds like Rocco's Modern Life accent? I don't know. I do a bad New York accent too, so I hope your entire country doesn't hate me. Anyway, so as per the subject line, good day, Brando. I won't read the rest of the email like that. Hope this email finds yourself and Baby Brownstone extremely well. Well, thank you. I'm sure you hear Baby Brownstone chattering a bit back there. Just if he's chattering, he's not on me pressing buttons. So let's get through this portion. Let's go through the rest of this episode, hopefully unscathed. So my name is Callum. I'm a big fan of your pod, and your truly yours, in my humble opinion, is by far the greatest GNR podcast online. And that's with some stiff competition with the likes of the First 50 Gigs pod as your peers. Well, thank you for that. I don't take compliments well, so I try to just say thank you, but I will give a shout out to the Guns N' Radio, who've been doing it for a long time, and 51st Gigs. I mean, that's with Mark Cantor. He was there. He's the one with the photos and the videos and from those first 50 gigs, and was at Slash's wedding, and like he's that guy. So I mean, a lot of the same guests. So for me, if you to whatever reason prefer mine to his, I appreciate it. So thank you. So he's writing on behalf of his band, the Crystallines, and I'm telling you about them because they're a hard rock three-piece from Melbourne, Australia. He plays guitar and sings, but they're very much inspired by Guns N' Roses. So he wanted to reach out to sing my praises. Huh, thank you. No, I'm not really like that. Like, those celebrities. Oh, no, thank you. Don't. It's too much, and they really want it. I kid you not. Before I recorded the episode, the interview with Alex Lifeson, I look at my 28-year-old brother who's staying with us for a little bit, and I said, I don't think I deserve this interview. I swear to you. I'm like, I don't like. Why am I? Who am I interviewing this guy? Does he even know? Because, and also to reveal before the interview, what ended up just telling me that Alex was running late. My coworker, the tour producer with Alex, he he just like joked me. He's like, that Alex was looking through the schedule and he's like, Appetite for Distortion. I'm not doing that. And my heart sank. And he's like, I'm just joking. That didn't happen. He's just running late just to stand by. Oh my God. Like I believed it. I'm like, you got me, man. So I sing my praises. Thank you. Because I definitely need it because I'm definitely hard on myself, even almost 500 episodes in. I still am. So thank you. He also wants to get feedback on his work, so I will suggest you go to YouTube and check out one of their singles for "Down My Neck." It's kind of like the first bands or sounds that came into my head was like if like Alice in Chains had a baby with Collective Soul. I don't know if you could hear that, so check them out. The Crystallines on YouTube and just Callum. He's like, I very much admire and appreciate your work, your commitment, your approach. I would love just to chat regardless of all the above. So we chatted here. I didn't want to type too much. I'm more of a chatter. That's why I have a podcast. And on social media, I try not to. It takes a lot for me to write a lot. So that's why sometimes I talk to a lot of you via DM. I'm not always engaged in full conversation. I try to leave that to the podcast. So if you want to be just like Jeremy from Manhattan, if you want to be like Callum from Australia, and if you want to talk via the podcast, via Mr. Mailstone, you can send me an email at the AFD show. I can read my own email at the AFD show at gmail.com, or you can send me a DM in any of these social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Leave me a comments on the YouTube channel, wherever. You can even send messages on the website, afdpod.com. You can send messages. You can do Patreon. You can do PayPal if you want to support the podcast. If you want to support me getting a babysitter, so we can do these interviews a little bit more professionally, or maybe not. Maybe you want to, I don't know, maybe you like Baby Brownstone here and you just want to help me invest into a baby microphone for him or something like that. Either way, all past episodes are up on afdpod.com. Just check it out. And as I mentioned, so Tracy Gunn's on the way, Alan Niven on the way. Also, this I believe I can confirm it's not taped yet, but he like Tracy initially gave me a no for a long time, but now we got a yes. Bumblefoot. So a lot to come on Appetite for Distortion. Hang tight. And with Guns N' Roses. This is going to be a fun year. So when's the next episode? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know, soon is the word, but you'll see it.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.